The sword that everyone loves to hate only because people say that it's Monster Hunter's favorite child, like it gets quite a bit of love compared to the other weapons. Either way, here are 5 tips for using the longsword so that you can get better at using this weapon, and maybe to piss off the haters. Remember, if I missed out on anything, be sure to drop it in the comments below to help out a new longsword player, so that they can also be the storm that is approaching. Number 1 is to build the spirit gauge to red. The spirit gauge is this weapon's main mechanic, which can be seen at the top left corner of the screen underneath your weapon sharpness bar. There's 3 spirit gauge levels, which are indicated via the outline color of the gauge. White is level 1, orange is level 2, and red is the max level. Depending on the level, the weapon will do more damage and the gauge's level will drop after time has passed. There's a couple of ways to level up this gauge, and most of them are done after a spirit round slash. The simplest way of doing the spirit round slash is just by spamming R2 or RT 4 times to do the spirit blade attacks, and the last attack is the round slash. However, you do need energy in the gauge for you to do the spirit blade attacks, and that's easily done by doing any attack with the longsword. Obviously, those attacks have to hit as well. Once your gauge is red, you will gain access to new and more attacks that can only be done with the red gauge. For example, the overhead slash has now changed to the crimson slash attacks, which is a much faster attack than the overhead one. There's also the spinning crimson slash, which is done after the spirit round slash and pressing RT or R2. Doing both the round slash and spinning crimson slash can extend the duration of the red meter. Although from my testing, it can only extend the red gauge after 2 round slash or spinning crimson slash, so be sure to use it when the gauge is close to ending. The second tip is to learn about the counters. There's 2 counters that the longsword can do. One of them is called the foresight slash, which is done by pressing R2 and circle or RT and B after any attack. This move uses up all energy in the spirit gauge, and when timed correctly with a monster's attack, you will negate any damage taken. You also have to have energy in the gauge for you to perform a counter, and you have to land this attack for you to regain energy in the gauge. After landing this attack, you can instantly do a spirit round slash straight after by pressing the same button input for doing a regular round slash. It's a much shorter way to do a round slash compared to the spirit blade attacks. When the gauge is red, the foresight slash changes to the foresight well slash, and this move can cut in between any crimson slash attack. The other counter is the EI spirit slash. This can only be done by pressing R2 or RT after doing the special sheath move. The special sheath is done by pressing R2 and X or RT and A after any attack. Once you do a special sheath, there's a small window for your character to do the EI spirit slash before the character automatically exits from the stance. When you time this move with a monster's attack, you will do a lot of damage on top of leveling up the gauge. Also, your attack needs to land on the monster. Obviously, you need to know a monster's attack for you to do any of these counters, so keep your eyes open. Next tip is to learn the strongest attack, which is the spirit release slash. As you can see, you need to do a spirit helm breaker to do this move. To do a helm breaker, you have to press R2 and triangle or RT and Y. Once you're airborne, you can choose to do a helm breaker by pressing R2 or triangle or RT or Y, or you can cancel the helm breaker by pressing square or X, or by sheathing your weapon away. After the helm breaker, pressing R2 or RT again will do the release slash. This move can only be done when the gauge is red. Doing both a helm breaker and a release slash reduces the gauge by 1 level, so if you do both, you will go back to the white gauge. Be sure to do this move when the gauge is running out. The fourth tip is to time your attacks. Whenever you attack with this weapon, there is a small window for you to choose your next attack. This is important because if you pace your attacks correctly, you can use the openings to perform a foresight slash instead of continuing your attack. The best way I've found to do a foresight slash is just by doing a thrust and then doing the foresight slash. Obviously, after some time, you will be able to perform the foresight slash without doing this thrust attack. And the last tip is to use focus mode. Honestly, I couldn't think of another tip, but focus mode really helps for this weapon because most of the longsword attacks have a forward momentum. What this means is that whenever you attack, your counter always moves forward, but with focus mode on, you can keep track of the monster instead of moving forward and eventually end up missing your attacks. Also, I'm sure you've noticed that doing a focus strike will level up the gauge, and depending on how many wounds you've destroyed, you can instantly level the gauge to the max. That's it from me. Obviously there's a bit more to cover, which I'll do in another video. Be sure to check out the previous video where I covered 5 tips for the greatsword. If you found these tips useful, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you want more tips and guides for wilds, and I'll see you later.